Let's get into it. Let's go. Public enemy number one. You know who that is. And it's fitting that I'm wearing this shirt because RFK's been going on a tour. He's been touring around, and he's a presidential candidate, so of course he has. But I like RFK because he doesn't just go around campaigning. He takes the time to talk about subjects that really should matter to the American people, that the American people should really know about. And recently, for like the past week and a half, maybe even 2 weeks, every place he's been going to, he's been calling out BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, these massive companies for a very important reason. And the reason is what they've been doing in the residential real estate market for I don't even know how long, but they've been buying up houses. The same way Gates buys up farmland, or the way Bezos buys up land, BlackRock has been buying up single family homes. And why is this a problem? They're just doing what they do. They're an investment firm. That's what they do. They manage assets, they buy things for people, sell things for people. It's what they do. But the reason that's such a big problem is because ownership is very important. Land ownership is very important. It's just so important for everybody. And when they do this, they are actually taking the opportunity away for middle-class Americans to have access to owning land, to owning houses. It's a big problem. When they buy these pieces of land, when they buy these single-family homes, multifamily homes, whatever what have you, the prices that they charge tend to be much higher if they're willing to sell it all. Now, if they're not willing to sell, it's not a problem. It's not like they leave the houses vacant. It's not like they're trying to do that to the people. But what then happens is those places get rented out. And in my mind, that's one of the first steps towards what the World Economic Forum talks about, which BlackRock and those companies are very aligned with, is you owning nothing and being happy, which is directly linked to the rental economy. That is what they're trying to do. When they say you will own nothing and be happy, they don't mean that you're going to be in a cardboard box. They mean you'll have all the things that you have now, but you're going to be renting them. You're going to be renting every single thing, from clothing to your house, to your couches, everything. Microphones, cameras, lights, everything will be rented. And of course, my question, which I've asked almost a year ago, is who's going to own everything? Well, when we look at this whole housing situation, it's very clear who's going to own everything. So Robert F. Kennedy has been speaking about that. I got a bunch of clips of him just talking about that and what he plans to do to solve that. And then we're going to, or maybe throughout the video, we're going to look at actually who owns so much land. And I even have a website page from BlackRock themselves, which they say they are setting the record straight on what's actually going on, because we got it all wrong. We got it all wrong. You're being a conspiracy theorist. Stop it. That's basically what they're saying. Let's get into that. First, of course, I have to bring you to IamCoachColin.com, where you can get your Soul Not For Sale t-shirts and hoodies for some of you, because the end of August is here. You people on the East Coast, you know what you're going to need pretty soon. You're going to need a hoodie. You can get yours now. We also have the Public Enemy #1 shirt. And I love that I'm doing this topic and I have this shirt available. T-shirt, tank tops, hoodies, of course. Google World Economic Forum. Watch this episode. You'll understand soon why I'm saying that this gentleman is Public Enemy #1. And we have the certified pure blood shirt for those of you that survived the pandemic unscathed and untainted. But again, and I keep saying this, and I mean it, stay strong. Your will be tested once again over the next 6 months to a year. And we have, of course, the newest designed, the presidential mugshot, looking fierce. I saw a post from, I believe, Don Jr., and he labeled this with the quote, "Deep State, we're coming for you." And that is what it looks like as he gives that face. Go ahead and grab that at your leisure. And if you want 10% off as you're deciding to purchase something, no problem. I got you. The discount code is I am Coach Colin. That's it. All capital letters, all one word, one L in the name Colin, and that gets you 10% off. And if you've done that with us already, Thank you so much. Your support means the world to us. Let's get to the first, not quite the clip, but just one of the articles that's out right now. I'm not going to read the whole article or anything, but I just wanted to show you guys, Robert F. Kennedy warns BlackRock's plan to gain single-family homes. This is very real. They are actually doing this. Robert F. Kennedy is not a conspiracy theorist. He's just a man who stays well-informed in all topics. Presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy has recently voiced strong concerns about the influence of investment firms in the housing market. In a recent statement during a talk to a crowd, I'll stop there because I'm about to show you some of those talks. There's been a few. Let's go. Here's the first one.
The highest level in history.
Sorry for the audio.
The companies that own that debt are charging American consumers 22% interest. If the mafia did that, it would be called loan sharking, and they'd go to prison. But if the banks and the credit card companies do it, it's just the cost of doing business. And who do you think owns those banks and credit card companies? Virtually all of them. Vanguard. BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard. Oh, BlackRock, the CEO of BlackRock is a guy called Larry Fink. He also sits on the board of the World Economic Forum. And the World Economic Forum is a conglomeration of billionaires that meets every year in Davos. And they have a plan for a new world order, which they call, not me, but they call the Great Reset. And Klaus Schwab, who runs the World Economic Forum, says that under the Great Reset, the vast mass of humanity will own nothing, but they will be happy. So they are definitely on their way to accomplishing the first part of that goal, which is that we will own nothing, they will own everything. And
so that's one of the first ones. Apologize for the camera lady. She even talks about it here. She's like, excuse my unsteady hand. It was hot. I was very tired. I was a bit shaky. Pretty sure I forgot to eat yesterday. But she got the video, so thank you to her. What's this lady's name? Sonia Hoffman. Go ahead, Sonia. A lady that does this type of work, she should be married to James O'Keefe. Unless he's already married, then I'm sure he chose a great lady. But someone like this. Or maybe she should be one of the citizen journalists. How about that? All right, let's go on to the next clip. And you know what? Again, so amazing that this guy's running for president and willing to say stuff like that. Like, he just went over the World Economic Forum. He brought up BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, the New World Order, the Great Reset, just all in one. Like, so imagine if Alex Jones spoke like Robert F. Kennedy. Imagine if they came together. Like, Alex Jones could run for president if he would just like cool it a little bit and just like lay out everything in a Robert F. Kennedy type of way. He'd be very dangerous, because that's what Robert F. Kennedy just did. Like, that's incredible that he's willing to say that type of stuff to the American people. And yeah, let's go on to the next one. All right, this one's a little shaky here as well. These people aren't cameramen, okay, people? They're just citizens trying to film some stuff. Let's go.
The thing that kicked off more than any other thing the great prosperity in this country was the GI Bill and the bills after World War II that made it easy for GIs to buy houses, to get into houses with low mortgage payments. So what I'm going to do as soon as I get in there is I'm going to start working on the tax code to make it very, very unprofitable for these big companies to come in and buy, millions of houses. And they shouldn't be, our children should not have to compete against these giant, billion, and of course the way they do it is because they have better access to capital, because they have lower interest costs. So they, of course, can go and take all the land in our country. And by the way, there's now all kinds of articles that show that the best farmland in Europe is Ukraine. And our our arrangement with Ukraine is we're going to give you all this money. You have to pay it back. And the way you pay it back is through austerity programs, beginning with something they call the land market, which forces all the farmers in Ukraine essentially to sell their land to BlackRock. So, you know, the Ukrainian people, 400,000 of them have died to protect their land from the Russians. Their land is being taken from them by BlackRock. You know, that the system is rigged, and it's rigged. Thomas Jefferson's vision of our country was, he said, the only way democracy would survive is if it was based on widespread diverse ownership of land by tens of thousands of independent freeholds owned by families, each with a stake in our system. And we cannot afford to have a single mega corporation essentially own all of the, I mean, they're buying all the farmland too, to own all our single family homes, and our kids are having to compete against these behemoths because they have those low costs. I'm going to change the tax code to make it very, very difficult for them to compete with our children. I'm also going to make a 3% mortgage available to Americans, as many as I can, hopefully in the millions. And the way that I'm going to do it, and without raising the budget deficit, which is really important that we get off of that addiction. And the way that I'm going to do that is, you know that if you have a rich uncle and he'll co-sign your loan, you can get a much lower rate because the bank is looking at his credit rating instead of yours. So I'm going to give every American a rich uncle, and he's called Uncle Sam. And I'm going to get Uncle Sam to backstop these mortgages, and then we're going to finance those mortgages by selling 3% tax-free bonds, and we're going to give the first $500,000 to teachers, and because we need to support education. And those loans will only be available to people who live in that community and are employed in that community and remain in that community. And we're going to start. The Great Prosperity Bill started with the housing boom, and I'm going to use this methodology to launch a housing boom in this country, because that's what I needed. This is what I wanted.
Wow, I like that. I like that a lot. I like that a lot. I've actually, I'm not running for any type of office, but I want to buy quite a bit of land in Texas, and I want to make sure. And I don't know how this works. And not just Texas. There's other places as well. Utah, Idaho. I really like Idaho as well. Florida, of course. But I want to set something up where when I sell land to somebody, like when I sell it back, I buy it, eventually I sell it back, make a profit, of course. I'm not Mother Teresa over here. But I'd love to instate something in some kind of contract where the person who I sell it to has to be from there. They have to be from there. Not just move there for 6 months, not a year, not even 10 years. They have to be born in that place and have this contract. And I don't know if this is even possible. And maybe everybody should have to do this. But then at the same time, they can't sell it to a corporation, and they have to sell it to someone else who's a native of that place as well, just to get the land back into the hands of the people who are from the places. Like, that's how it should be. It's just something that I've been thinking about because I really like real estate, and I've been looking at it a lot, and I don't want to end up selling anything I buy to BlackRock. You know what I mean? Like, it would just be terrible. You know, and I think, I can't tell anybody what to do, but you should watch out for that as well if you're in the market of selling anything. Somebody swoops in with all sorts of money and it's an LLC. I'm like, check that LLC. Check what it's connected to. Check what that's connected to. And if it's them, don't do it. Make sure it's a real American. Make sure they're really from that place. Because, I think that would help a lot. I like what he's saying there with that housing boom. That's very, very smart, I think. Now, of course, I don't know if he can do all that. I don't know. So many presidents have said that they want certain things, and then when they get in office, they can't accomplish those things, of course. But, The fact that he's even thinking about that is very big to me. Here he is again, more of a tour. Now he's on Newsmax talking about this again. Let's go back here.
I want to point something out, that these three giant companies, BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, they own 88% of the S&P 500. There's something wrong with that. And they've now targeted single-family homes. So the reason you're seeing these homes, go off the charts in price, so many people that you know and I know have had the experience that they're about to put an offer in on the home, or they put one in. Somebody swoops in with a cash offer and takes it away from them, and they try to figure out who it is. It's an LLC. Well, those LLCs are ultimately owned by those three big companies. And, they're on trajectory now to own 60% of the single-family homes in this country by 2030. There's a lot of things that we ought to be doing about that. We ought to be using the tax code so that they can't make a killing taking all the homes and then driving up the rents. And there's other things that we can be doing, and making mortgages available, 3% mortgages to Americans with federal guarantees. None of that is happening. And nobody's even talking about what's really going on in this country, which is this corrupt collusion between state and corporate power that is strip mining the wealth from the American middle class and destroying the lives of the working poor in this country, where you do not have a chance anymore. The whole system is rigged against you. And those corporations, because of government collusion with these rich men north of Richmond, have their boots on the neck of every American. And, all these guys can talk about is what China's going to do to us, and Russia, and make up these bogeymen to keep the military-industrial complex in the cash. But what about what's really happening in this country, which is, the wealth is being stolen by corporations with the cooperation of these government agencies.
Again, good points. Very good points. And just the fact that to know that because obviously he's trying to speak to the American people, trying to persuade people to vote for him, of course, that's what you do. But he is taking the time to make this matter known, almost more than his campaign. Usually if you're campaigning, I've seen it with Vivek, you've seen it with Trump, you've seen it with Ron, you always have your points that you want to talk about. And when he has these points that he wants to talk about, it's almost like he wants to raise awareness more than just inspire you to vote for him. I find that very, very commendable, because he could just and obviously he does bring this up quite a bit, and I would too if I was a Kennedy. He does bring up his lineage. He brings that up a lot, but he brings up these topics that nobody's talking about way more. And he doesn't have to say BlackRock's doing this. He doesn't have to do that. He could just say there's a problem with big companies buying up houses. He could just keep it there. But instead he embraces what shouldn't be looked at as controversy, but is. He embraces that and leans into it and pushes into it. So I find that very, very commendable. Here's one more clip of him talking about this once again. Let's go.
2 years ago, the average price of an American home was $215,000. Today, 2 years later, it's $400,000. And the interest rates during that same period have gone from 1% to 7%. So that home is going to cost him 10 times what it would cost somebody 2 years ago. And most people don't have a prayer. Most young people don't have a prayer of doing that. We all know kids that age who are living with their parents. We all know people, or most of us know people, who were about to buy a home. They were ready to do it, and at the last moment, somebody comes in with a cash offer and scoops it out from under them. We've all heard those stories. Why is that happening? BlackRock. There's three companies: BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. And those three companies, which all own each other, so it's really one huge behemoth, also own 88% of the S&P 500. And now they have a new target, which is to gain ownership of all the single-family residences in this country. And they are on a trajectory to do that. If they continue on this trajectory, by 2020, they will own 60% of the homes in American corporations. And so when you see those people, that entities sweep in and take that home away because they made a cash offer, it's usually an LLC with some kind of ambiguous name. But the ultimate owner, if you trace them back, usually goes back to one of those three companies.
Very, very true. Margot Wagner. Shout out to Margot Wagner. Thank you for the video. Now, sorry for the audio. And I'd like to point something out with these videos. Another commendable thing. I could be wrong, but this video by Sonia. This was made by somebody just randomly there. This video was made by someone randomly there. This video, obviously this was filmed in a studio. And then this video was filmed by somebody. Most of these videos that are coming out about him talking about this are by the people who are there in the crowds. And I only bring that up to say he's not making a big spectacle of it, or he's not taking the time to film these things. Because if I was on his campaign, I'd be like, hey, we're filming everything you say and we're putting it on your YouTube channel, and we're gonna do that, and we're gonna consider that, you know, campaign contributions, and we're gonna, you know, I would do all that. He's not doing that. And whether it's lack of knowledge, because I doubt it, because his campaign must have some smart people in it, but he just doesn't seem to be utilizing that. Again, commendable. Maybe lack of knowledge. I don't know. Maybe I'll reach out to him, work on his campaign. But now it just goes to some articles here. You know, Gates owns the farmland, but not the majority. So if we go down here, which is true, he doesn't own the majority, but he owns quite a bit. If we go right here, let me zoom in on this real quick, just so you guys can see how much he actually does own. So he owns 269 acres. Now this is farmland, which arguably even more important. That's how much he owns of that. Then we go here, Bezos, he owns 420,000 acres of just land, period. 24th largest landowner. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is because then you have these families who are some of the largest landowners. Bezos is 24. There's 23 other families on top. I'm just showing you that the land, the majority of it, is owned by a very small percentage of people. And that is a step towards you will own nothing and be happy. Because if all these people decided to unite and say, well, we're not selling, every piece of land that they own would have to be rented. And that's a big problem. Now, we'll always give BlackRock a shake. Look at them. They're trying to set the record straight, setting the record straight. Recently, BlackRock has been the subject of speculation, misinterpretation, and even mistaken identity in the media reports and on social media regarding their role in the U.S. housing market. We want to make it perfectly clear. BlackRock is not buying individual houses in the U.S. Yes, they are. Yes, you are. But here's how they get around that. See if I can zoom this in, because they have some lovely language here. How they get around that. So they're not buying individual houses in the U.S. A large number of other large asset managers and private equity firms are very active today in purchasing single-family residence. BlackRock is sometimes confused with them. As a fiduciary asset manager, we invest and manage capital on behalf of our clients in a vast array of public and private U.S. real estate markets, not buying individual homes. But buying individual homes is not one of them. Okay? Below are facts that we do participate in the U.S. real estate market. Combined, we are investing approximately $120 billion in the U.S. residential real estate market on behalf of our clients. So we're not buying them. We're buying them for our clients. Basically, that's what they're saying. We're not buying them. It's not ours. We're buying them for our clients. But are your clients ever going to leave you? Are your clients going to stay with you for 30, 40, 50 years? They are? Oh, are you going to advise your clients to sell to the American people at a discounted rate? Of course not. Are you going to advise them to sell at all? Are you going to advise them that it would be better if you had all those properties that you're buying as rental properties? Because that will yield more money than if you just sold them outright? You see what I mean? It's a little bit of a loophole. So maybe they're not buying them just for themselves. They're buying them for other, companies, these LLCs that you look into. Robert F. Kennedy brought up the LLCs. Like somebody swoops in and buys your house. You're in a bidding war. Some LLC swoops in. Again, this is why I said, look into the LLC. Who's controlling that? Okay, there's a holding company. Okay, who's managing that holding company? Oh, it's a trust. Well, who's managing that trust? Oh, it's BlackRock. And I don't know business structure that well, but I know about holding companies, blah, blah, blah. But a little bit of a loophole is what they're using there. Let's go here. Providing capital for mortgages to help American families buy new homes. BlackRock is a significant investor in mortgage securities, helping make capital available to individuals and families seeking to purchase homes. Which I feel like is code for like we jack up the price a little bit and we make it available to certain people. And guess what? If you're middle class or lower than that, you're not one of those people. Because they could just be talking about people who are millionaires. We help those people. We help these families. Yeah, it's the Elon Musk's family, but still, we're helping families. They're in America. We're helping Gates. He's a family. He has a family. What's the problem? It's the Clintons. What's the problem? They're a family. We help families. We get them mortgages. Yeah, it's a little bit of a loophole. Goes on like that. But, I wanted to give him a fair shake. I'm willing to read the BlackRock website a little bit, Also, I like life. I like living. I have no negative thoughts, just putting it out there. But that's Robert F. Kennedy. That's what he's been talking about. I really like, I've said it before, I like that he's willing to just walk around and talk about topics that matter. Because even if you are at one of those places and you say, I'm not voting for that guy, at least now you have the knowledge of that subject. At least you know what's going on now. And that's so important, because as they take the steps towards you will own nothing and be happy, notice how they have a certain goal that's 2030. A lot of their goals are on 2030 because there's a 2030 agenda. This is a big step towards that. If you can't own a house, there's going to be a lot of other things that you're not going to be able to own as well. And you're still going to have to find a way to be happy. And that's when the WEF, that's when this gentleman swoops in. And he's just like, I have bugs for you. I have many cockroaches and grasshoppers for you. All right, guys. Like the video if you haven't liked it already. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. We're making 1 to 3 videos a day. I don't know anyone else that's doing that. And other than that, I am out.